wedged between powerful natural forces, the volcanoes and the sea.
Hey.
Long ago, the Javanese ascribed characteristics to them that made them easier to be approached, appeased, and understood.
By 2000 years ago, the Javanese were already beginning to take things from Hinduism and Buddhism, and the fact that none of them are incorporated into anything having to do with these rituals suggests that must have already been more or less established as a unified belief and practice system before 2,000 years ago.
It is no surprise, then, living in the land between such strong natural forces, that the belief that these forces, the volcano and the sea, are 2 points on an axis, and atop this sits the world in precarious balance.
But the idea is that the palace itself is the pin, the kind of axis around which the rest of the universe rotates. Therefore, it and Merapi are equivalent. Merapi does the same thing, performs the same function, more or less physically, you could say, whereas the palace does the same thing symbolically speaking. It is kind of a metaphor for society. The society also will become split up, chaotic, unorganized, unless there is a ruler to keep everybody more or less in their proper position.
From Merapi in the north, a straight line can be drawn that goes through the Kraton, or Palace of Yogyakarta, and thence to Parangtritis in the south, on the shores of the southern sea. This is the dominion of the Nyai Ratu Kidul, the queen of the southern seas, who controls the violent waves of the Indian Ocean. Sometimes she is referred to as one of the spiritual queens, or wives of the Sultan of Yogyakarta. It has been believed that the success of any Javanese king depends on his mindfulness of these forces, and his attempts to balance them, thus maintaining the order and the safety of the world. As legend has it, Panembahan Senopati, founder of the second Mataram kingdom, the greatest of ancient Java's empires, was meditating near the southern sea. He wanted to pray that his son and heir would be a greater ruler than he was, and that his kingdom would survive and thrive. Such was the power of his meditation that the energy he released attracted the attention of Ratu Kidul. The waves stirred and parted, and she came out of the sea on her chariot. Stunned by her charm and beauty, Senopati fell immediately in love. And the queen of the southern seas, accustomed to taking men into her depths for brief amusement on a whim, could not resist his charms. He followed her to her underwater home. It was here that they made a sacred pact, a marriage of body and soul. Senopati then asked for the queen's support in helping to sustain the Mataram kingdom's greatness. Before they parted, she gave him a gift, the universal egg which Senopati had to eat, so that Ratu Kidul would be his forever and the lover of all of his heirs and descendants. Senopati was hesitant. He feared that if he ate the egg, he would be transformed into a pure spirit like Ratu Kidul. Apparently, this exchange had been overheard by a palace court servant, a gardener, named Ki Juru Sapu Taman. For the continued safety of Senopati, he volunteered to eat the egg. He vowed that whatever was to become of him after eating such a thing of unknown power, he would remain loyal and at the service of the king and his descendants. Instantly, Ki Juru was transformed into a monstrous spirit, and his spirit spread over the land. Ashamed of his appearance, he retreated to the top of Mount Merapi. In tribute to his loyalty, Senopati gave him the name of Kiai Sapu Jagat, the guardian of the kingdom. The Mataram kingdom prospered, and in time became the Sultanate of Yogyakarta, and offerings celebrating Ki Juru Sapu Taman's loyalty had then become paired with those for Ratu Kidul at the southern sea. Thus, a tradition was born, one which continues to the present day. That tradition is now called Labuhan. At the start of August of every year, the Sultan Hamengkubuwono X leads the ceremonies that give offerings at both the shores of the southern sea and the top Mount Merapi. Labuhan is from the Javanese word melabu, which means to throw into. For months in advance, the palace servants gather and create the offerings in anticipation of the 2 days of ritual preparation that precede Labuhan.
Carane Labuhan menika nek teng pesisir kali teng Merapi.
Mbah Marijan.
Kan nggih namung mboten ngangge aturan napa-napa mung butuh digawa mrika nyangking ae dibabat dalan lajeng dipun gonjakaken. Ayo ora. Arep nang Gunung Merapi arep nang pesisir kudu padha aturane kudu ana aturan cara kedinasan carane kraton.
Little has changed since the first Labuhan was led by Panembuhan Senopati. The first day of preparations starts with the gathering of the myriad items that are to be offered for Labuhan. Everything must be cleaned, purified according to tradition, and the women involved in the tasks must be clean as well, meaning that they must not be pregnant or in their menstrual cycle during the preparations. Everything is done by hand, and all the items involved have artistic and material value, as well as spiritual significance. The first day is called Nobluk, which signifies the preparation of the cooking of the appam, or cakes. The appams are made with rice flour, red sugar, noted for its pleasant aroma, salt, yeast, and coconut milk. The preparations are overseen by the female relatives of the Sultan, and they are led by the daughter of the queen. The ingredients are blended by hand, and once mixed, they are left to ferment overnight.
Ya, kalau di keraton sendiri kita selalu melakukan kegiatan tradisi ini secara benar ya, artinya ya kita lakukan terus dan ya seperti itu, begitu. Jadi karena kalau kita merubah atau kita tidak melakukan itu pasti masyarakat terutama budayawan akan protes. Jadi sehingga kita pasti melakukan sebisa kita, semampu kita pertahankan semaksimal mungkin. Tidak hanya budaya kesenian juga, ada tradisi, kemudian segala sesuatunya.
Besides food, the Labuhan offerings include other items representing the apogee of Javanese artistry in woodworking, metallurgy, and the making of batik. Gathered from the workshops inside the kraton and throughout the Sultan's domain, the final assembly starts by adorning the boxes with flowers, followed by a ritual listing of the items to be placed in boxes. There are full outfits made in different motifs of batik, along with perfume and incense. This is for the Kiai Sapu Jagat, so that he may be dressed elegantly, despite being ashamed of his physical appearance. The second day of preparations starts in the kitchens of the kraton, where the cooks await the delivery of the fermented mix to cook the appam. As the first cakes are prepared, a member of the royal household gives prayers to make the cooking process auspicious, and to acknowledge that what we get from life is through the help and cooperation of others. That simple philosophy is at the heart of Labuhan. In spite of the charcoal fires and the heat of the tropical morning, the traditional Javanese virtue of displaying a placid outward calm is maintained. This is made all the more difficult when dressed in traditional kebayas. There are two sizes of appams made. The first, the alip, is a smaller cake, meant for the Thanksgiving meals, the kenduri. The second,
Kuwa
Upon
di mana?
signifies the size
Oh,
of
ya
the
apa
sultan's
mus
throne.
toko.
It is stacked in 3
Okay,
that forms a triangle,
Kosong
and
apa?
one in the center is larger and will be served.
Yeah.
Once all the mixture is cooked, they are allowed to cool. The preparation of the food is women's work and cannot be rushed, for there are certain customs or adat that must be respected, so the men must wait. To the Javanese, humbleness, inner and outer calm, are a way of life. Part of the Labuhan ceremony will also include ritual feasts, which, like the gifts to be offered to the spirits, are laden with symbolism and meaning. Throughout Indonesia, how food is presented is given great importance, so each basket is
Oh,
reverently and
berkate.
painstakingly assembled.
Pucangnya.
The apams are arranged into stacks and covered with banana leaf.
Ngayuk
When
Jakarta.
moved, they must be approached in a crouched position, signifying respect and humility. When all is ready, the foods are brought to the bangsal manis, where all the items are checked and segregated for separate locations. It is then put into the bangsal Sri Manganti, a chamber where everything is kept until the start of Labuhan. This area is forbidden to all but a few select palace servants. The final ritual, before putting the foods into the chamber, is reflective of the many cultural influences one finds on Java. The fusion of the indigenous Javanese with Hindu and Islamic elements into a syncretic rite. By tradition, the Labuhan is held one day after the day that commemorates the coronation of the Sultan. In the current Javanese calendar, that day is the 30th day of Rajab. The Javanese calendar is a lunar calendar, so the precise date fluctuates year by year, but normally it falls within the first half of August. All is ready. Come the new dawn, the offerings will make their journeys, each accompanied by a contingent of the Sultan's personal guard and servants to the mountains and the sea.